We're kicking things off with a pretty important consumer safety alert, one that might just affect something sitting in your fridge right this very moment. We're talking about a recall on several popular brands of grated cheese due to a potential health risk, and we're going to break down everything you need to know.
So yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? Is this cheese in your fridge? Over the next few minutes, we're going to help you figure that out. We'll look at the exact products being pulled from the shelves and tell you exactly what you need to do if you have one.
All right, first things first, this is the real deal. This isn't some rumor flying around online. It's an official announcement from the FDA. The Ambriola Company has voluntarily recalled some of its cheese products. And what's interesting is they did this because of an issue they found themselves during their own routine testing. Okay, so here are the quick facts, the need-to-know info. The company is Ambriola, and they're recalling specific grated cheeses. Now, check out these brands: Ambriola, Locatelli, Members Mark, that's the Sam's Club brand, Pinna, and Boar's Head, some really common ones in there. And the why is potential contamination with something called Listeria, which we'll dive into in just a second. All of this was announced on November 25th, 2025.
So what is all the fuss about? Why pull products for potential contamination? Well, it's all because of an organism called Listeria. And once you understand what it is, you'll see why companies take this stuff so seriously.
So what in the world is Listeria monocytogenes? Well, simply put, it's a bacterium that can make you sick. Now, for most healthy folks, it might just feel like a really nasty bout of food poisoning. Fever, diarrhea, the works. But for certain groups of people, well, the consequences can be a whole lot worse. And this is the really crucial part. The FDA is very clear about who is most at risk. We're talking about young kids, the elderly, or really anyone with a weakened immune system. And there's a particularly serious warning for pregnant women because a Listeria infection can, tragically, lead to miscarriage or stillbirth. And that potential right there is exactly why these recalls happen so fast.
So let's look at the symptoms side by side. For a healthy person, again, it looks like a rough couple of days. High fever, a bad headache, stomach issues. But for those high-risk groups we just mentioned, it can escalate to serious, sometimes even fatal infections. It's really a stark reminder that the same bacteria can have a totally different impact depending on who you are.
Now, before we get to the list of products, I want to show you a very, very important number. 0. That's right. As of the announcement, there have been 0 reported illnesses linked to this cheese. And that's fantastic news. It tells you that this recall is a proactive, precautionary measure. They found the bacteria in testing and acted before anyone got sick.
Okay, now for the most important part. Let's figure out if that cheese you bought is part of this recall. If you've got a container of grated cheese in the house, now is probably a good time to go grab it so we can check it out together.
The first check is a pretty easy one. When did you buy it? The products that might be affected were shipped out to stores all over the country between November 3rd and November 20th, 2025. So if you bought your cheese before or after that little window, you're probably in the clear. But let's look at the expiration dates, just to be 100% sure. Okay, first up, let's look at the pre-packaged retail products. The ones in cups and bags. We're looking for Locatelli, Boar's Head, and Members Mark. The most important thing here is the expiration date. This would be a great time to hit pause so you can compare the date on your package to this list on the screen.
The recall also includes cheeses that are often sold by the pound, like stuff you'd get from a deli counter. This list includes Locatelli, Ambriola, Pinna, and Boar's Head brands. So if you bought your cheese from a deli, you want to check the label they put on the container or maybe even your receipt for any of these expiration dates.
So, what happens if you looked at those lists and you got a match? If you have one of these products, don't worry, the next steps are really, really simple and clear. Let's walk through your action plan. It's a super straightforward 3-step process. First, and this should be obvious, but please do not eat it. Step 2, you've got 2 options. Either just throw it away, or you can take it back to the store where you bought it and they'll give you a full refund. And third, if you have any questions at all, the company has set up a number you can call.
All right, so we've covered what you should do. But what about the company? Let's take a quick look at how Ambriola responded once they found out about this potential contamination.
The company's CEO, Phil Marfuji, put out a statement, and the key part was this. He said they take food safety very seriously, and their first move was to immediately alert stores to get the products off the shelves. And that's exactly the kind of fast response you want to see.
And it wasn't just talk. The company took some other really concrete steps right away. They've hit the pause button on production and distribution of these cheeses, they're working hand in hand with the FDA, and they're doing a full deep dive on all their safety procedures to figure out what happened and make sure it doesn't happen again.
So when you boil it all down, the big takeaway here is that this recall is actually a sign of the food safety system working the way it's supposed to. A routine test caught a potential problem, and the company acted out of an abundance of caution before anyone got sick. For all of us, it's just a really powerful reminder that staying informed is one of the best ways to keep ourselves and our families safe.
And that kind of leaves us with one last question to chew on. This was one recall for one kind of cheese. But how often do you actively check for recalls on the food you buy? It's just some food for thought. Thanks for tuning in. Stay safe and stay informed.